Loneliness is like an illness you couldn't describe.
Every living creature needs to share their life with someone else.
Well done, £150 for those three. Let's take that from the machine and put it in your bank.
Meet Helen, aged 85 and lived alone for the past 21 years. A life lived alone in the company of nobody but herself. In a home without Wi-Fi, computer and social interaction, she is left with nothing but a TV to provide support and comfort. She has been left with no husband, no friends, and no hope.
It gets very, very lonely. Loneliness is like an illness you couldn't describe. But it's lovely. I just have to get out of the house in the morning, go away somewhere for the day and come back in. But it's lovely when I'm out. It's lovely when you're out. You're going along the street and somebody smiles at you. It makes you feel you're not on your own. And when I'm on the bus, people would say, "Isn't it a lovely morning?" Or I would speak to them, and it just helps immensely.
Her husband Eric passed away suddenly with a heart attack in 1997. She was married for 40 years to her soulmate and her one true love.
To me, as you grow older, now at my age, I feel so lonely without him, because as the older you get, I just feel I just want to be with him. And it wouldn't worry me if the Lord took me tomorrow, as long as I'd be with him again. But it's just, oh, I don't know, it's just, you're like, I'm sitting here and I'll say, "Right, Eric, I have to go to bed." And then when I go to bed, I'll lie and talk to him for a while and pray that the Lord will keep him safe for when I go. No, before he died, he had a wish, and he just says, "I just wish that the Lord takes me before you, Helen, because I just couldn't live without you." It just doesn't get any easier, it gets worse. People will say, "Gosh, you should be used by that, do that by now." But I'll say, you're standing with your husband. It's something that you never get used to.
This is Jim Kirkpatrick, once a counsellor, a man of the people, but is now left trapped and alone after losing his wife Anne to cancer on Christmas Day 2010.
Well, you live in probably 3 rooms, kitchen, living room and bedroom, and the rest is not being occupied. So it makes you realise the need to reduce the amount of space you're living in. But I think the worst part of being on your own is the fact that you lose the balance that you have with your wife or your partner. The molehill can become a mountain very easily. Every living creature needs to share their life with someone else. I was saying to you earlier, a bird will land on a wire outside the house. 10 minutes later, another one will be beside it. And that's life. The coming together of people and creatures. It's so important. And then when people come together, they can not only deal with their own personal problems, but they can deal with social problems that other people are having. So I've had an interesting life as a counsellor, and I would always recommend people your age to travel as much as possible and engage in conversation with as many people as possible.
Aside from the mental struggle of being alone, this pain can be physical also. Research conducted has shown that loneliness increases the likelihood of mortality by 26%, and those alone have a 64% increased chance of developing dementia. Dr. Valtorta has spent the past few years proving the physical effects of being alone.
Okay, so the effect sizes that we've found linked to loneliness or social isolation and health are comparable to some of the other factors like obesity, physical inactivity, smoking, which we hear a lot about in the media and which are clearly quite important factors that we need to prevent. Loneliness is something we talk less about, perhaps because of it being stigmatised, perhaps because we don't really know what the mechanisms are still. But certainly in terms of preventing things like cardiovascular disease, which is one of the biggest disease burdens in the world, then if we could tackle something like loneliness and isolation, we could really help to reduce some of the burdens on services and public health in a country like the UK.
It isn't right for anyone to fight their battles alone, and it must be remembered that help is out there. Age UK Wirral are a charity organisation devoting their time to aiding those alone. Through lunch corners, befriending schemes, and a shoulder to cry on, they provide hope.
Effects of loneliness on a person has the same effect on life expectancy as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. You know, that's quite a drastic statistic if you think about the amount of effort that's been put into reducing the amount of people smoking and all the legislation about that. What are we doing to look after our older people? We have increased life expectancy for people phenomenally over the years, but we haven't done enough to increase healthy life expectancy. So people are alive for longer, but iller for longer. An organisation like Age UK Wirral supports over 30,000 people. You know, it's life-changing for individuals. We don't have the same red tape as some statutory services, so we can go out of our way to make sure that people feel that they are cared for and they are part of the organisation and they can turn to us in times of need. And I think personally knowing that you make a difference makes it much easier to get out of bed on cold mornings, makes it much easier to work those longer hours because you know that that individual's life has changed as a consequence of you being involved with them.
For those elderly involved with Age UK, it provides an escape. A weekly lunch corner welcomes up to 30 people to enjoy a meal and spend time with friends, to speak, to laugh, and to feel acceptance with others. It is events such as this that save lives.
Before my husband died, they were very good. They got him the attendance allowance and told him how to go about getting the blue badge. And then after my husband died, I got in touch with them and they gave me the telephone number to ring Nando about the lunch club. And then I mentioned it to Nancy and she said, oh, she'd like to come. So we both came together. And it was very nice, and they're all very friendly. So, in all, you know where you can get help from, or you've only got to lift the phone and ring Age UK, and they'll sort you out.
Loneliness is something that you never get used to.
A bird will land on a wire outside the house. 10 minutes later, another one will be beside it. And that's life. The coming together of people and creatures. It's so important.